Oh, hello, it's Phil here in the Digital DJ Tips studio with the Soundboks speaker. We're reviewing this today. We'll look at what's different about this compared to other PA speakers, what makes it unique, and whether it's a good choice to buy as a DJ looking for something that's a little bit more durable than the speakers you've got at home, or a little bit louder than your average Bluetooth speaker, because this is both. It's a Bluetooth speaker, a wireless speaker, and a full-blown PA speaker that you can use for parties. So it's quite an exciting product. So it's the Soundboks 3. We're going to be looking at it today. By the end of it, you'll be sure whether this is something that is right for you or not. As ever, if you're sure you love this stuff, please do subscribe, use that link there. Not only does it help us to bring you these videos, but also it means that you'll be informed when we make more videos just like this one. So remember to click the bell, or if you're on Facebook, remember to click show posts first from us. So this speaker here has got quite an interesting lineage. It came out of an idea to make a speaker which was the loudest speaker at the festival or at the party, and it's got like 120 odd decibels of music power. It's a really stupidly loud speaker. But of course, if you're taking it to a festival or a party, you can't just have a PA speaker that's loud like that. It's got to have Bluetooth, so you can attach your phone to it. It's got to have wireless between it and more speakers. You know, all the best Bluetooth speakers nowadays, you can connect them to each other, so you can gang them up. So 2 or 3 people turn up with one and you can put them all together and make them all play the same music. And it's got to be battery powered because there's not normally any mains electricity available. So it's got to have all those things that the smaller Bluetooth speakers, the little beer can speakers, you know, have, but also be good enough to use for the professional kind of using it to power a party and not just a few people. So that's kind of what this came out of. And this is the Soundboks 3. And with Soundboks 3, they've added something which is crucial, which is the ability to wire in your gear. So now this is suddenly useful not only to stream from your phone or whatever at a party, but for DJs and for electronic musicians and for performers to use, with like a wire going into the back of it so that you've got professional audio going into it as well. So it moves it away from just being an entertainment consumer speaker to being something that you can use if you're a performer, if you're a DJ. Frankly, that's why we're talking about it, because DJs will be interested in this. So the Soundboks 3 brings that to the table, which wasn't with this speaker before, and it's why we're reviewing it now. So let's talk about how this works. So it is as you can see, it's a pretty much PA looking speaker. Now you can get orange and white grills for the front of it if you want to go a bit flasher, but it's basically looks like a PA speaker. It's in nice plywood, black plywood. It's got aluminium edging to it. It's got these silicone rubber balls to protect the edges and also to make kind of cushion it when you sit it down. So it feels really nice. It's got these big handles on the sides. You can see this big handle here. There's one on the other side as well. But it's the connectivity that's the interesting thing. So let's talk about what they've got around the sides here and also on the back to get this thing connected up. So I want to show you now the area here. Now this is, firstly, let's talk about this. There's a bass port. If I put my arm through here, there you go, there's my hand. There's a bass port all the way through there just to help to pump the bass out from the speaker, which is pretty cool. So here we have the power button, we have the main volume knob, and we also have this button here. And this button here is crucial to the way these work. You can press this once and it'll go into solo mode. Press it again, it'll go into join mode, where you can join up with any other speaker, which is in host mode, which is the third setting here. So if you want to join this up with another speaker, you stick it into host mode, get another speaker in join mode, and you can join them up that way, or vice versa. So that's what's going on in this area here. Round on the other side of the speaker, in the same position, there's a different port. There's this bit here. And this is where you plug your battery in. So here I have a battery charging. This comes with the unit and it charges with this plug here, which I had it plugged into. The battery slots in. It's got this piece of material here. It slots in here like this, and that will stay in there fine. But also then you plug the power in so that it actually powers the unit like that. that battery is now plugged in, and the power lead, it feels a bit weird, but actually it works fine, is keeping the battery in, just helping it not to shake out of its position there. So that's now on full battery power. Now you can also, as far as I can work out, plug this in here like this. Now this might be completely wrong because I couldn't find anything in the instructions. You plug that in like that, so it's now going to be charging the battery and powering the unit at the same time. I don't know if that would actually work, but the point is you've also got this power socket here. So if you buy yourself a spare battery, let's just plug that back in. If you buy yourself a spare battery, you can plug this into it, and I've got a spare battery here. So you could have two batteries going, this one plugged in like this. This one then would be sat there charging away. While this is charging, you've got another battery going on in there. So if you're using this in the garden or something, this is at the end of the garden on battery, you could have your second battery bank charging. Now talking about the batteries, we found, they claim up to like 30 or 40 hours battery, but they're very honest about it. They say if you really push this at full volume with everything up to 11 kind of thing, this is going to run the battery out in 3 hours or something. We found that having it very loud, we got good 5 or 6 hours out of a full battery, which is pretty cool. So that's where the battery plugs in, and that's how that works. So now we've got this turned on, you can see the lights on this side when we turn it on here. Turn the unit on there, and here's the lights. There's your main volume going on there, and you've also got your light here, which switches between the three modes that I just spoke about. Now I want to talk to you about the little bit on the back here, which is where you plug in your external inputs, because this is new. This is not something that was on the previous speaker. So what you got down here is basically room to plug in 1/8" sockets. There's an 1/8" lead here from the company. And so you could plug in, you know, like you could wire in your iPad or your iPhone or whatever, or get an 1/8" to RCA socket lead and plug that into the back of your DJ controller. There's an 1/8" out there, so you could use that to go to another speaker if you didn't want to use the wireless for whatever reason. We'll talk about the wireless in a minute. But it's also got the combo sockets on the back there, which can take, I've got one here because these are all the cables provided. It can take XLR cables, so you could use XLR, 2 of them on there to go to your DJ gear, and then you could plug the other end into the gear, and then you've got a balanced input going on there. Now these are pretty cool because even if you wire this one up to another one using a lead like this, just with an 1/8" mini jack on each end, you only plug into one. So your wired input from your DJ gear would only be going into one of the speakers, and then the speakers are wired off to the other one. So you don't have to split your DJ gear between 2 speakers like you do with some of the more conventional PA systems. Now just for completion's sake, they also sell a microphone and a microphone cable that you can use to plug the microphone in, and that would go on the back there as well. Now there's an XLR and a TRS socket on the back there, which I've just said you can plug a microphone into, and you can also plug a DJ controller into. But those of you that are technical will know microphone's got far lower voltage input than a line input from DJ gear. So how is that all figured out? Well, that's all figured out in the app. We'll talk about the app in a minute. But before we do that, I just want to explain to you how the wireless works, because this has got Bluetooth, so you can Bluetooth in from anything into the system if you like. But just like, you know, if you're used to other kinds of wireless speakers like Sonos speakers for home. You know, Sonos has its own network between speakers, and you just use standard AirPlay or Bluetooth or whatever to get into the system. So this has got Bluetooth 5, which is very good to get into the speaker, but once you're into it, it uses something called SCAA, S-K-A-A, which is a proprietary system to talk between this speaker and other speakers. But the thing that's really important for us DJs is it's got something called SCAA Pro. Now SCAA, the normal SCAA system, will let you link, I think it's 5 or even more, but I think it's at least 5 of these speakers together. But if you use SCAA Pro, it reduces the distance that the speakers can talk to each other properly over by about 30%. And you can only link 2 speakers together, I believe, but it's practically 0 latency. And we tested it, it's certainly low enough latency for DJing, forgetting about it. So it's as good as wired for DJing, which is really important because you can't DJ through wireless speakers ganged together normally because the delay is too big. And the company that makes that technology, Scar, even sells like wireless technology to link from your DJ controller to the speakers if you want, but we haven't got that or reviewed that. So you could have completely wireless going on. But basically, if you had a speaker right next to you with your DJ gear, plug into that one, and this can talk to another speaker down the other end of the garden or the other end of the party or whatever, wirelessly and without latency, which is really, really cool. So, okay, we've talked about the wireless, we've talked about the battery, we've talked about the controls on this speaker. What we haven't done yet is look at the app, and the app's really important because the way this speaker works, you get a lot more out of it by using the app. So on my phone here, I've got the app installed, and I will select the speaker, and there's various things that we can control on the speaker, and you can connect to various speakers and control them all from the same device. Sound here, so we've got different sound settings. You've got these ones at the top, bass plus, which is going to be very loud but give you lower battery life. There's a power setting, an indoor setting, but even an EQ, so you can set the EQ here to what you want for the speaker, which is really pretty cool. We found the audio really good on this. It's got great bass, it's got great mids and highs. The different settings here will let you set it for your living room where you need it to be a bit more refined, or just for a bit of bass kick outdoors with the bass plus mode, or somewhere in between the two. But we had absolutely no complaints about the sound quality of these at all, so I want to say that at this point. It's kind of taken as read, or we wouldn't be reviewing it, but they're not only loud, but they also sound excellent. If you're using more than one speaker, you can decide to have them mono or have them left and right there. We also have Bluetooth, so this is where we can decide whether we want to auto connect to Bluetooth devices it knows here, but also it will allow us to put a PIN code, which is really cool, so we can stop people hijacking our Bluetooth on this. I love that. I think that's really awesome. No one likes their Bluetooth being hijacked, right? So the Pro panel, this is where we decide what's being plugged into the back of the unit, and whether it's microphone, or whether it's instruments, or whether it's other stuff, like for instance the DJ controller would be there. So this is basically getting the levels right on the back of the unit. Then we've got the Scar, this is the wireless, so here we can put it in that Pro mode I was talking about, where we can DJ with latency free mode here. And there's also the registering of normal Bluetooth devices here as well, and you can get this registered over on their website here, and when you do that you can get firmware updates and all that kind of stuff in order to keep the speaker up to date. So it's definitely worth getting that app, because while you can control the basics here, there's a lot more control going on in the app and lets you tweak stuff and so on. So let's turn it around again. Let's have another look at the front of it while we do our conclusion. So what do we think of this? Well, it's a really bold idea, linking the best of modern Bluetooth wireless speakers, portable speakers, with what PA speakers should be, which is basically blinking loud. And it does a really good job of that. It's fresh, it's a good idea, the software is good, they've developed it over not only 3 versions of the hardware, but the software is developed as well. It does pretty much everything right. I think that the new Pro panel on the back should have RCA inputs as well. It's a bit weird plugging your DJ gear in with little mini jacks. That said, they are fine, and the cables that you can buy from them are fine for doing that. But I think that might be something that they'd want to look at in the future. And I think also, you know, having a big PA speaker like this, where if you want to plug it into the mains, you're using a little cable with a brick transformer, feels a bit weird. I'd quite like to just see a big IEC cable where you can just plug it in and the transformers inside. I understand why they did it, because you get the flexibility of battery or this power, or indeed it seems the ability to do both at the same time. Just seems a bit weird to me, having such a big robust speaker with such a flimsy little low voltage cable to power it. But that's maybe something that the way they've done it is the best way they could figure out. But it's great. It's not cheap. But if you want the best, if you want the loudest, and you want something that you can DJ with outside, also use indoors for your practice, and not damage at parties. That's the problem with speakers. You tend to buy something for indoors, buy something for your home studio, and then use it at a party and damage it. You ain't going to damage this at a party. It's waterproof. They can't call it fully waterproof because of that port that I put my hand all the way through and showed you, because potentially stuff could get inside it. But they do say that the components have all been waterproofed, and you can spill beer on it and use it in ice and water and cold and warm, and you know, it's been designed to be durable in that way. So you're not really going to harm this speaker outside. There's 2 things that we thought of that we'd really like to see them do. We'd like to see them come up with a subwoofer for this, Wouldn't that be cool? Because they've already got stands for it. They've already got, you can buy a microphone to use with it. You can even get a backpack to carry it around with, but a subwoofer as well, just to give that extra bass thump, powered and wireless and battery as well, just like these, all that kind of good stuff on it. I think that'd be really cool. So have a think about that one, Soundboks. But also, we would love to see them make a speaker that's exactly half the size of this. Imagine this thing cut in half. That kind of size, Bluetooth, battery and mains powered, with all this wireless goodness in it, with all the wired and the SCAR and all that stuff. I think that's a real sweet spot for DJs, because this thing is pretty hard to carry around. It's 15 kilos and it's big. I just think a speaker half the size would still be louder than everyone else's Bluetooth speakers out there at parties. And I just think people would go for that. And also it'd be a lot easier to have as your kind of like, buy two of them and have them as your main speakers at home as well. And when you want to use them away from your home, grab the battery packs, pick them up, one in each hand, and off you go. I'd love to see a Soundboks Mini as well. But anyway, this has been the review of the full size Soundboks 3. They're $999 if you want to buy one with a microphone. Not that you would because you're a DJ, but hey, you might if you don't own a microphone yet. It's an extra $100 for that pack. If you want to buy one with its own stand, we tested the stands, by the way. I just haven't got them in the studio with me now. Again, that's an extra $100 for the version with the stand, and the version with the backpack is an extra $100 as well. All those accessories are available separately, as are cables and spare batteries and spare power packs and spare cables for the battery and all that kind of stuff. So you can get all that stuff separately as well and kind of build your system that way. Not the cheapest in the world, but we absolutely love these, and it's good to see someone innovating in this space for DJs. We always love the look of these things, but now that you can wire into them, they're a serious choice for DJs looking for that one speaker to do everything for them. So that's the Soundboks 3. If you've enjoyed this, please do like, follow, subscribe, use that link so that we can let you know when we make more videos like this. And we love it when you hit that share button, so please do that for us. But meanwhile, let us know what you think in the comments underneath. Have you got one of these? Would you consider one of these? Is it about the right price? Do you like the features they've put into it? What do you think about the fact that it's got an app to control all this stuff? Tell us what you think about it. We'd love to know what your thoughts are. But meanwhile, from me, Phil, here in the Digital DJ Tips studio, get good, get out there, make the moments, and I'll see you in another review very soon.